A good evening to you all, and thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television News tonight. We hope you had yourselves a very productive Tuesday. Here's a sneak peek of our edition tonight. For the first time in 55 years since the establishment of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, Africa is hosting the prestigious gathering. The Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board reveals that through technology, in 5 years, there will be seeds of some of the most important crops that grow rapidly and resistant to climate change. On the international scale, in Sudan, prolonged conflict has dealt a heavy blow to the country's oil industry. Once again, we're glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Abera. Let us start off by informing you that for the first time in 55 years since the establishment of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, Africa is hosting the prestigious gathering. Engineers from diverse fields worldwide have come together with their Rwandan counterparts to discuss how they can collaborate on finding solutions to global issues. Olive Nete with more.
Engineers from around the world, equipped with diverse skills and expertise, are stepping up as catalysts for the solutions needed in various sectors. This conference, marking the first time in 55 years that the World Federation of Engineering Organizations was established, convenes in Africa and hosted by Rwanda. These engineers aim to contribute to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, fostering the continent's vision for 2063 and supporting Rwanda's vision 2050.
In light
of the challenges the world is currently facing, we need to reflect on our individual contributions and collectively work towards understanding what we can do. It is important to identify the global goals and collaborate effectively, ensuring that as women, we are not left behind. We must be aware of the current challenges and actively seek solutions and see how we can address these issues together.
Our main theme, engineering innovation for a sustainable future. So as engineers, we cannot achieve this alone. That's why we have partners in different fields. Like I said, researchers, academia, leaders of the industry, policymakers, and so forth.
To realize the vision of a desired Africa by 2063, Engineer Martin Manua, representing the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, announced a 10-year initiative aimed at consolidating large-scale construction and housing projects across the continent. Concurrently, they plan to raise $100 million to invest in programs that enhance the capacity of African engineers with the goal of upskilling over 100,000 people within the next 5 years.
The themes for this 10-year capacity building project, which we are launching here, is to enhance capacity in engineering education. My president, Papias, has spoken about the Africa Accord, an accord where we want to have mobility of engineers working all over Africa with the substantially recognized qualifications, with substantial equivalents. An engineer in Rwanda should be able to work or being asked questions. They just need to look at the Accord register where this thing is all the details are all in place through the mutual recognition agreements Africa-wide.
In the second phase of the National Strategy for Transformation, it is projected that the urban population will rise from the current 27.9% to 39.2% by 2029, aiming to reduce the number of individuals living in poor settlements. Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Jimmy Gasore, stated that the housing and settlement programs for the next 5 years will enhance development efforts while ensuring that residents do not need to be relocated.
Rwanda has made significant strides in these areas, particularly in the context of a national strategy for transformation. These discussions held during this conference will be instrumental in helping Rwanda and Africa in general to achieve these goals. We have also implemented strategies to sustainably increase urbanization rate from current 27.9% to 39.2% in 2029, while simultaneously reducing the percentage of informal settlements. To achieve this, the government of Rwanda is championing a new approach to informal settlement upgrading through a rehousing scheme, which promotes inclusivity, affordability, and climate resilience. We believe this approach could be a cornerstone for achieving our vision of future cities.
According to figures from the Ministry of Infrastructure, 80% of Rwandans currently have access to clean water, with a goal of achieving 100% access by 2029. Additionally, 78.9% of households have access to electricity, while the target set for Phase 2 of the National Strategy for Transformation is to reach full coverage by 2029. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Thank you, Oli, for that report. Now, visitors to Rwanda and service providers in the tourism sector agree that there is no need to change travel plans in light of the Marburg virus outbreak. Industry experts report a noticeable increase in the number of anticipated tourists, attributing this surge to the effective measures implemented by the government, which has alleviated previous concerns about the epidemic. We have more on this report.
Across the country, tourists are exploring Rwanda's stunning natural landscapes, including its majestic hills, while enjoying accommodations at designated facilities. Notably, Yuki Yamamoto has traveled from Japan to experience Rwanda, and Jankula Dadres has arrived from Italy to take in the country's beauty. I decided to visit Rwanda after hearing my friends speaking highly of the country. I also learned about the serious measures being taken to address the epidemic, which reassured me. Therefore, I had no reason not to resume my trip since I wanted to visit the Kigali Genocide Memorial.
Life outside of Kigali, it's completely different from the life of the city. You see a lot of different people and way of culture, and it's really beautiful to go around. I always feel safe. I never had some problem, neither in night. I almost never have some fear. So it's probably one of the best ones to come to Africa, to just travel alone by yourself.
Entrepreneur Wimana Judith, founder of Judith Safaris, and Dorothy Gashaija, manager of Ndaru Luxury Suites, confirmed that the number of visitors has been rising even amidst the Marburg outbreak.
Just a few days ago, we welcomed a team that came in for the conference that was ongoing in Kigali, and we still have people that are coming in. As we speak of today, I have people who are checking out and who are checking in. The same as tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, I have bookings coming in, and some of these bookings didn't even book before. So it means that there are those who are doing last-minute bookings. There are those who are making plans to travel with their families, still coming to Rwanda.
They are still coming. In the beginning, it was scary because we had some booking which was postponed. But since the last 5 days, they rescheduled their trip. We received some of them yesterday, and today there are some of them who is coming. So it's showing that it's not yet scary as it in the beginning.
More than 200 airline ticket service providers from Eastern and Southern Africa, along with participants of the Biashara Africa Conference, have reported no negative impact from the outbreak. Nikanor Sabula, CEO of the Association of Eastern and Southern Africa Travel Agents across 13 African countries, reassures travelers that there is no reason for those visiting Rwanda to be worried.
We've been here for the last 2-3 days. It is safe to travel in Rwanda. There are protocols that have been put in place by the government to contain the Marburg virus, and that has not stopped us from coming here to do business. And so I want to tell the world, I want to tell Africans that Kigali is safe for travel, and we are here to demonstrate as an association that indeed it is safe to be able to come here.
Dr. Jean Kaseya, the Director General of the Africa CDC, recently expressed confidence that the Marburg virus will be eliminated in Rwanda thanks to effective measures currently in place.
I have also to say that the outbreak in Rwanda is controlled. Yesterday, I was amazed to receive the report for the day there was 0 new case, 0 death. It means we are expecting to see Rwanda out of this outbreak very soon.
Visitors to Rwanda are echoing the World Health Organization's stance that it is inappropriate for countries to implement trade and travel restrictions against Rwanda. The World Health Organization emphasizes that the Marburg epidemic is being effectively monitored and contained within Rwanda, ensuring it doesn't spread to other nations due to the established measures in place.
The Rwandan battalion visited Kapuri Primary School on the outskirts of South Sudan's capital, Juba, and engaged in community work activities, among others. Adam Skizera with more.
Kapuri Primary School was built by Rwandan peacekeepers after they observed students were studying under trees and in makeshift classrooms without sanitation facilities. Moved by the situation, the peacekeepers decided to build a proper school. The residents in this area applauds the role of the Rwandan peacekeepers in not only protecting but also ensuring their well-being through such initiatives.
I am so happy because today our children are progressing their study. Before, we don't have place for them to study. When the Rwandese commander going through the road, they saw the children are learning under the tree. And then they come and support us. And they tell us to give them the place, the plot, and they will construct for our children a buildings to be under this construction. Now, like you see, they built for us this school. And then today the place are very nice. And then today they come and plant for us trees and bring books, pens, and always for our children. That is why today we are very, very excited.
This support, it means a lot. Helping in the cleaning and giving scholastic material to the learners, it means a lot here. You know, I have to take this privilege and to give thanks. That's why in the beginning I said that there are things that I learned today, like a general cleaning of this one. Because if we are to compare our army and now the army of the Rwanda, there is a very big significance there. Because it has never happened one day, maybe our own SSPDF come with the initiative and to do such a great, important task in the school. But we have seen how the soldiers for the Rwandans, how loyal they are. They are just they are so loyal to people. They come in and they interact, they do the cleaning in the school. The shape of the school has now really changed, the way we looked, and the work that we did with the soldiers plus the community and the teachers at large, it really means a great thing. And it means we are going to take the school forwards, and we are going to bear fruits.
The school's construction began in 2014 in a joint effort between the Rwandan Battalion, UNICEF, and the Rwandan community in South Sudan, and the Kapoli community. Rwandan Defense Force Deputy Spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Simon Kabera, noted that this initiative to build the school was to ensure the safety and well-being of the community here in this region.
As you know, our primary mandate is to protect the civilian, but we make extra mile to think about how the real life of the population here in South Sudan, and to think if there is something that we can contribute with regard to social and economic development. It's in that context, in the process of implementing our mission to protect the civilians, our troops were conducting patrol, so they come across this place. They found that the children were studying under the tree. So the idea came from that experience. They decided, now what can we do at least for this for these students to have at least a school for them to instead of studying under the tree. So they planned that project, and the school was built in 2014. So this is what you see, and now the students are no longer studying under the tree. They are able to go to the school.
Lieutenant Colonel Simon Kavera also emphasized that peacekeepers will continue to support the school to ensure that it remains fully operational.
We did not give up from that time when we built this school. We also think in about the management of the school itself and the life of the students themselves. It is in that context that after understanding that they need a printer, we put up some funds to buy a printer for them, and we brought scholastic materials and sanitary materials, mostly for the girls. So this event for today was at least to officially have this kind of togetherness with the students, the parents, and all our troops together. So we have interaction with them, we provided those scholastic material, and that's how we create a conducive environment for us to implement the mandate, because we build the trust between us and the people of South Sudan who have passed through difficult challenges through the conflict 2013, 2016, they had some kind of conflict, and many people were in IDP camps. So you can realize that now they are back to their normal life. Students are able to go to school. You see the meaning of life in this perspective.
This school is situated in the outskirts of Juba, the capital city of South Sudan. The 8-classroom school, with 2 staff officers, now accommodates 541 students and was officially handed over to the government of South Sudan on 9th February 2015. Adams Kwizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adams, for that report. A new report from the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda shows that industrial output increased by 4.3% in August this year compared to the same month in 2023. The food processing industries had the highest increase at 9.9%, followed by the beverage and tobacco industries, which rose by 6.2%. Saula Sandra Tumukunde with more on this report.
Masoro at the industrial area of Kigali, we are at the fruit processing factory, which supplies product in Rwanda and the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. This factory has recently increased its fruit production, rising from 300 tons per day to over 500 tons daily, as explained by Fajara Ndangano, the manager of Bakarisa Grain Milling Rwanda Limited, commonly known as Azam.
Production ugambere.
Producing this flour from the first time in 2011, we had a capacity of only 300 tons per day. After 2 years, it became clear that the output was insufficient for the market, so increased our capacity to 500 tons.
This flour factory is not the only one that has increased its dairy production. Also, another factory we visited that processes maize flour also reported an increase this month. Lamesh Moshika is the CEO of Africa Improved Foods, also located in Masoro.
But we will plan to increase our footprint across Africa. We are considering 4 countries as we speak. We are thinking of Ethiopia, we are thinking of Nigeria, Ghana and Zambia. We are in the feasibility process as we speak. The founder's dream is that we should have a Pan-African footprint, so in every country. But that is about 3 generations of leaders after me will have to complete that process because it will take time.
The industry leaders say that the Rwandan government has put in place regulation that facilitates the operations and they appreciate the security of the investment.
I have no doubt that the environment in Rwanda is extremely conducive to people like us setting up manufacturing here. The market is small, but I think the environment makes up for a large part of it. Because don't forget, we are sitting in the middle of a very troubled region. There is DRC on one side, South Sudan, Uganda, Burundi, all are countries that require a great deal of food. And they are not stable countries and therefore there's not much investment going to those countries.
Although the production of food and beverage in the industrials has increased, there are still challenges that prevent sustainable growth in production.
These challenges occur here and there around the world, especially since the wet flour we use cannot be sourced locally in Africa. It often comes from various countries such as the US, Argentina, and Russia. When there are issues in these countries, we also face those challenges.
Our challenges, because of these geopolitical challenges, a lot of funding gets diverted to those wars. So whether it's to Gaza, whether it's to Ukraine, a lot of American money is going there. And therefore the children, the hungry children in Africa are not getting as much attention and as much funding as we should.
Freddie Mugabe, the Director of Industrial Development at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, explains that they have a special 10 years program aimed at specifically promoting industries and addressing existing challenges.
We have a new industrial policy that lasts for 10 years, and we believe that during this time a lot will be accomplished based on the outcomes we observe. Therefore, we see that in these 10 years, there will be additional achievements in the country.
In addition to the food processing industries that have increased production, the energy sector saw a 55.4% increase in output, while the water processing industries also increased by 11.4%, as confirmed by the report from the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda. On the other hand, the output from mining industries decreased by 20.6%. Production of ordinary goods also fell by 3%. Saula Sandra Tumukunde, RTV News.
The Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board reveals that through technology, in 5 years, there will be seeds of some of the most important crops that grow rapidly and resistant to climate change. This is as across the country, rain is low, hence expecting less agricultural produce this season. Prince Manzi with more.
Cultivators in the eastern province affirm that the rain falling in this region is at a lower rate and hence a problem, as it is different from how this season was in previous times. As the rain delays, so is our activities. We cannot do anything else apart from cultivating and wait on what God will do. It is not only in the eastern province but also in other parts, like in the southern province, in the districts of Nyanza, Ruhango, and Kamonyi mainly. I have planted like 4 kilograms of maize from the Tubura program, but now I no longer have confidence in having produce because they are now dry. And it is not only me but also for others. We just want advocacy for having the irrigating machines. Nevertheless, in the northern and western parts of the country, rain falls and sometimes swipes away their crops. A study from various environmental institutions demonstrates that the climate change at the global level will impact the country, mainly in the agricultural sector, with the eastern province facing too much sun and western and northern parts facing too much rain, and these both seasons affect agricultural produce. The Deputy Director General of the Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board, Faustin Munyazikwiye, reiterates that there are measurements in place to curb this effect. That is why Rwanda emphasizes on engaging in measures against these effects in this region, including increasing the plots with terraces, whereby in these 5 years we're aiming to move from 140,000 hectares to 160,000 hectares with terraces, and all these adds to other measures in place in these regions. Statistics from the ministry in charge of emergency management demonstrate that in 2023, disasters affected 2,176 hectares of land, while in 2022, the damaged were 1,917. Dr. Florence Wamahoro, the Deputy Director General in charge of Agricultural Development at the Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board, reiterates that there is a need for having seeds resistant to the climate change. And if this variety becomes available to reduce the production cost currently, we started on the project in these 5 years on maize, cassava, and Irish potatoes. The varieties will be resistant to diseases and climate change. Seeds that have been genetically modified are resistant to sun and heavy rains, are not affected by diseases and pests and have started to be used in various countries, including those in Africa, and are known to have rich yield, such as Stella, as Kenyan experts and researchers explain it.
Over the years, Calro has developed over 200 varieties, and more are in the pipeline. And these varieties have different attributes depending on, one, the ecology of the areas where they're growing. One of the institutes of Calro, of course, is the Biotechnology Research Institute. Biotechnology is a modern science, and to be able to increase our production, to be able to overcome the challenges of climate change, emerging new diseases and pests, there is need to use modern technology.
In Rwanda, 45% of the country's surface is designated for cultivation. Due to climate change, efforts are being made to improve wetlands, to increase the total arable land so that the country can be self-sufficient in food.
Thank you for sticking with us on RTV News, and a warm welcome back to other stories making headlines on the international scene. Let us begin in Sudan, where prolonged conflict has dealt a heavy blow to the country's oil industry. CCTV with the details.
The continuing civil war in Sudan has significantly damaged the country's oil refinery infrastructure, putting a massive strain on the economy. By the end of July, the largest refinery in Khartoum had completely stopped operations, leaving gas stations in many parts of the country without enough fuel. The fuel shortage is prompting the country's power stations to engage in more frequent load-shedding activities, with many places enduring daily power outages that last for hours. And finally, experts say a brain drain within the oil industry, wherein executives have left for a safer environment, is another big factor that's affecting Sudan's oil industry.
Actually, also part of the losses, in addition to the facilities and the production and the data, the people, the expert people, that accumulative experience for the technical and administration people of that whom working in oil and gas in upstream and downstream and the midstream, we may lose most of them because most of them now move outside Sudan and they look for jobs outside.
About 20,000 people have been killed since the conflict erupted between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces in April last year. More than 8 million people have been displaced within Sudan, and another 2.4 million have crossed the border into neighboring countries.
Now to Zimbabwe, where health authorities have confirmed the country's first Mpox cases. CCTV continues.
The two cases are an 11-year-old boy with a travel history to South Africa in August and a 24-year-old male who traveled to Tanzania in September. The Ministry of Health says both patients are stable and no longer infectious, but remain in isolation. Some of their contacts have been traced and are being monitored. Authorities have activated response systems, including training of health personnel and increasing public awareness campaigns.
We need to have an adequate stock of all the essential drugs, which would include antibiotics, IV fluids, steroids, and other drugs that we make use of to contain, to fight the complications. So case management becomes very important, especially when you want to reduce death. But the mitigatory and containment measures become very relevant and important when we want to cut to the transmission.
Stakeholders have called for the timely provision of medicines at the isolation and treatment centers. Mpox was declared a public health emergency by the World Health Organization in August after a new variant that spreads more easily through close contact was discovered. Earlier this month, neighboring Zambia reported its first case of the disease. In view of the cross-border risk, the government has stepped up surveillance at border posts and ports of entry. Public health experts have called for closer coordination and information sharing amongst countries in the Southern African region.
And finally, to South Africa, where millions of households have been found to face food insecurity. CCTV once more.
According to SA Harvest, up to 20 million South Africans are on a spectrum of severe food insecurity vulnerability. SA Harvest is one of the leading food rescue and hunger relief organizations in South Africa. The National Food and Nutrition Security Survey confirms this in its latest survey. The survey found that millions of households in the country are food insecure and that South Africa is facing a triple burden of malnutrition, hunger, and obesity due to poor diets.
This adds a further burden onto the systems of South Africa, most notably the health system, which then has to increase the availability of care to deal with some of the diseases resulting with childhood malnutrition, stunting, obesity, and poor consumption, such as diabetes. But it also affects massively the productivity of our workforce in South Africa, as well as the prospects of our young people.
Some of the contributing factors to food insecurity are the effects of climate change.
Our country has certainly not been spared from these effects, as well as the adverse impacts of these climate change shocks and hazards to our economy, and particularly to our most vulnerable households in South Africa. As an outcome, they have exacerbated the vulnerability of households to hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition.
The United Nations Food and Agriculture Office in South Africa assessed that South Africa needs to make urgent interventions to rescue the situation.
Over 730 million people face hunger in the year 2023. And more than 2.3 billion people were moderately or severely food insecure. More importantly, the findings from the National Food and Nutrition Security Survey highlight the urgency of the situation within South Africa. They reveal critical insights into the demographics affected, the nutritional challenges faced, and the socio-economic factors at play. This data must drive our actions and inform our policies.
After the revelations from this survey, the government has announced that it intends to partner with both the private and public sectors, as well as various stakeholders across the entire food spectrum to help deal with this issue.
And that CCTV story marks the end of our bulletin. Before we close off, let's have a recap of our headlines. For the first time in 55 years since the establishment of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, Africa is hosting the prestigious gathering. The Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board reveals that through technology, in 5 years, there will be seeds of some of the most important crops that grow rapidly. On the international scale, in Sudan, prolonged conflict has dealt a heavy blow to the country's oil. Once again, on behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, we would like to thank you very much for sticking with us here on RTV News. My name is Martina Avera. Stay safe and have a great night.